Hello and welcome all my warrior frogs. Here on this channel we refuse to be boiled slowly. This is going to be my setup for next few months to come because I have to move apartments, so everything needs to be packing and donated and all that stuff. It's very stressful, so I'm just going to record from my laptop. Hopefully you're okay with it. Today I wanted to talk about my life off of social media. I left social media about 5 years ago and it has been the most amazing experience. So I just want to talk about what it was like for me, and I'm not here to say that just because I left I'm better than you and you should do it too. Just here to share my experience in case you're curious, and maybe this might help you out. So a little bit of a background. So I'm 38 years old. I left social media when I was like in my early 30s or something like that. So I cannot speak for the younger generation because I had already formed solid friendships by the time social media came about. So it wasn't that difficult for me, but I did experience some isolation. So let's just talk about it, right? Facebook, I never had a problem leaving because I just found it to be too invasive. I think once like random people with internet access could find you, it scared me, so I got off of and deleted my Facebook. And plus, I think over time the interface just got more and more toxic, and it was an easy decision for me. Never got into Snapchat because I think I was just too old by the time it came about, and I never understood the concept of taking pictures or videos and them disappearing after some time. I don't even know how that platform works, to be honest, because I never created an account on that. Twitter, I created an account, but I was like, what? I don't have random things to say, and I don't have time to argue with randos on the internet, so I never got into that. I think Instagram was it for me, and there were many reasons why I left. I'm going to talk about 3 of them today and how my life has sort of changed since I did it. And then I'm sure there's a lot more that I could talk about, but I just wanted to keep this video kind of nice and concise. So the first thing is, as soon as I made a decision to delete my Instagram, I felt like my life had slowed down. The pace of things was so slow. I felt extreme boredom, and I just felt like there wasn't enough going on in my life. And that's because of Instagram. I was so used to the pace of life being fast because everybody is sharing their highlights. And to me, when I was looking at all of that, it made me feel like there was something always going on. Even if I wasn't participating or doing anything with my life, I felt like life was happening and it was amazing. So as soon as I took that away, everything felt so slow. It almost felt like nothing special is happening, on a given day, which in normal life, special things happen every now and again, not every single day, every single hour. But when I was on Instagram, it felt like something was always going on, right? Someone's birthday, someone's baby shower, someone's kid going to school for the first time. I don't know, something or the other was always happening. Even though I wasn't involved with those people and those events, I felt like life was moving along and I was part of this big happy cultural moment at a given time. So I felt like I had more time and less things to do, which in the beginning felt really, really odd. And I had to make it a practice to catch myself and start to do things that I used to enjoy before I got on social media, right? I used to be able to focus for hours and hours when I was drawing or reading, or just I had a lot of hobbies. I'm a crafty person, and I used to be able to focus on those for hours at a time, and I used to love creating. And once Instagram came about, it no longer was about me sort of finishing a book and really getting into it, or finishing a piece of artwork. It was more about sharing that process with people. So I had to take that power back, and I slowly started to enjoy just living my life without having other people sort of validate me on accomplishing something, right? And this was happening just not to me, but also other people around me. And, I felt like it was kind of making parts of my personality that I didn't like worse. Like, you know how some people bring out the good in you, some people bring out the bad in you. Well, Instagram brought out everything bad in me. As an immigrant kid, I have, a lot of, I guess, ways that I judge myself constantly, and I'm always trying to prove myself and always trying to, be grateful for the life that I have. And I was trying to make the most of it. And because of that, I'm a little competitive, and I think Instagram made that worse for me, right? So I wanted to travel more than everybody else that I saw traveling on my whatever page, or I don't even know what it's called anymore. Anyways, and this my account was private. It was only for friends and family and people that I've met in real life, and I felt this way just within my small little circle. So imagine if it was like an open public account or whatever, right? When I first started traveling, it was because I was so grateful that I was able to like travel, and I wanted to experience different cultures and just open up my mind in different ways. And because of Instagram, it became less about that and more about like one-upping people, right? And again, this is probably just like my personality, and not everybody's like this, but I'm just like admitting that I am. Like, I used to love reading, I still love reading, but at that time, when I was on Instagram just sharing up like my TBRs and stuff, it was more about how many books I can read. Like, I could probably read more than you, or like it just became too competitive for me. And I didn't like that. I've always been a foodie, but I think with Instagram, instead of just like enjoying the places that I was like discovering through like recommendations from like friends and family, like organically, I would find places, and I think a lot of the time the quality of food wasn't even there. It was all made for Instagram, right? Like, it looks pretty and stuff like that in pictures, and I found myself eating way too much and eating low quality random crap, just so I can say that I went to that newest spot in town or wherever I was traveling to. I did a lot of solo travel when I was in my 20s, and at that time I didn't really have Instagram. Like, I didn't use it that much. I think I started using my Instagram probably like late 20s, early 30s. And I enjoyed all of my solo trips because I barely have many pictures from them, but I still remember everything that I did, and it was just so much fun. And it wasn't about like, like geotagging different restaurants or different places that I had seen and stuff like that. I genuinely made like lots of connections when I didn't have Instagram. So that was the first thing. It's just life felt so much slower in the beginning, but that's the normal pace of life, and I had to learn that. And after a few months, it became easier. Like, in the beginning, I just felt like super isolated. I didn't know what was going on in people's lives. They didn't know what was going on in my life, and I had to almost relearn how to communicate with my closest friends and family and how to interact with them. And that included, actually calling them and asking them what was going on, and having them text me and call me to check up on me, instead of just seeing each other's sort of like life events on Instagram and just like hearting things or just commenting here and there. It was an odd experience, but now I wouldn't trade it for anything else. It was also difficult for my friends and family to relearn how to kind of communicate with me because they had gotten so used to doing it via social media. I honestly was made fun of, but I don't mind. I've always been that weird, person who tries things before others do. And now a lot of my friends either have gotten off of Instagram or have actually like, taken long-term breaks, and they've realized that it's beneficial for them. So that was the first thing, is that it just, the pace of life is so much different in reality versus on the internet, and I think this is very similar for what do you call that, for TikTok as well, because by the time I think I decided to get off of Instagram, they had just rolled out the Reels section or whatever, so people were starting to make Reels and stuff, and because of that I realized that so many things like the sound bites and stuff would get stuck in my head, and I was like, this is not good for me. Like, I think this was a big thing on TikTok for sure, right? So it was too much. It was too much stimulation for me. So that's the first thing. The next thing I think would kind of just piggybacking off of what I said about, like, people sharing their highlight reels, was just the flex culture. I had gotten so sick and tired of the flex culture that Instagram promotes so much, and social media in general, right? Because people are just sharing their highlight reels, and nobody's sharing, the difficulty that they're having behind the scenes, right? Like, whether it be like going through a rocky period in their marriage, or their kids having like some sort of like a learning disability or stuff like that. Nobody shares the real challenges, because obviously, like, who wants to put their business out there, right? Like that. So the flex culture, especially in the peer group that I was in, had gotten so out of hand that it was starting to feel just super toxic, and I felt like I was no longer able to relate to my friends and family. Everybody's just, hey, I'm going through like a really shitty time most of the year, but then here's like 1 week out of the year where I went on this really nice vacation, and I'm posting several times a day. And again, that is very personal. That's something to do with me, right? Like, people who are posting might not be posting to flex, but that's how my brain took it. And I was like, well, all I can do is control my behavior, and I decided to get off of it, and I have such peace of mind because of that, right? I no longer feel like I have to keep up with people in my age group, right? And I think depending on what phase of life you're in, this can be different, right? If you're younger, it might be like your friends getting into what you might deem as a more prestigious college than you, right? Or your friends might be able to study abroad versus you, or somebody hitting the milestones before you do, right? Whether it be getting engaged, getting married, having children, whatever. None of that stuff happened for me. So clearly you can tell that it was like very, very challenging. Even though with my close friends and family, I'm very involved in their life, right? And I'm like, I know exactly what's happening in their life, all the difficulties, all the challenges that they're having. So my brain kind of knew that this is not all there is to life, right? Like, this is them just sharing like the fun things about their life that they want, to show either their kids' grandparents who are not living in town and stuff like that. But I also knew people who posted just to flex, like people who were well off, who inherited some money, and they were all about, here's my latest bag, here's where I went on vacation, here's everything that I'm able to do for my kid that you might not be able to think about for yourself, right? Every wedding got fancier and fancier, like every bridesmaids vacation, what do they call it, bachelorettes or whatever, got like crazier and crazier. And a lot of that came from social media. A lot of that came because people were just making up things, making up trends, making up like random shit that you have to do that was pointless. Everything became more about like the aesthetics versus actual love of things, if that makes sense. I am so happy to be away from the flex culture. You have no idea. It has given me such peace of mind. But it is isolating and lonely in the beginning, so I just wanted to kind of put it out there, like, know that. The last thing that I'm going to talk about in this video is shopping addiction, like spending beyond your means, and constant advertisements, like advertisement overload. And I think Instagram kind of just paved the way for that. And then I think later on the TikTok shop came about, and that I think that people really need to be careful of because it's so addicting. Anyway, so I realized when I was on Instagram, and this was my previous apartment, like right before I moved into that apartment, is that I was trying to find things, for my apartment, and instead of getting things that were necessary for me, that were in my budget, I ended up like buying shit that I would see on Instagram. There were so many companies that popped off just because Instagram advertising was just such a quick way to market your product and get consumers, that so many crappy quality companies just started popping up here and there and charging insane amount of money. But because it looked so pretty on screen, and because the influencer culture was just starting to pop off and people were just like promoting things left and right, looking out for their own bag, nothing wrong with that, but I was not an informed consumer myself, so I spend way too much money. The advertisement were just getting so out of control. Instead of seeing people that I knew, like my friends and family, on my scroll, I don't even know what it's called anymore. I was seeing random influencers, random advertisements. It was just too much, and I felt so disconnected overall. It started to feel like a big old shopping network. And I think that was kind of like my last straw, is that I remember getting the Our Place non-stick pan. I think that was the first product they came out with. It was like $100 at the time. And I was like, oh, this looks beautiful. It'll be nice in my kitchen. It's non-stick. It's going to last forever. Yada, yada, yada. I bought it. And within a year, it stopped working like it should have been. Like the non-stick part had started to like kind of scrape off. Like everything was kind of sticking to the pan. And it was heavy as heck. It was such a heavy pan. And I realized that I didn't need that. And I should have known that in the beginning. Instead, I used this Tefal pan that I had found through my ex partner's apartment that cost me $30 and is still going strong years later. It is amazing quality, but it just doesn't come in like a dozen different pretty colors, and it wasn't marketed to me on Instagram or anything like that. So things like that really started to frustrate me, and one day I made the decision to get off cold turkey, and I never looked back. And I think the first 3 to 4 months were difficult. 3 to 4 months because I was still trying to form that cadence with my friends and family about, one, I'm not on Instagram, so stop tagging me in things, stop like sending me random memes, like stuff like that. I had to like relearn and also teach to others. But now it's just like I have no social media other than this YouTube thing, and my life is great, and nobody is picking on me because I decided to get off of social media, and they're actually proud and they're trying it out themselves. And my nieces and nephews, my nephews are still young, but my nieces are coming of age, right? And they were starting to ask questions about like Instagram, and I felt like I want to be able to say that it's so bad for you that I don't even use it, right? Because it's with kids, I think they'll always just mimic your behavior, right? You can tell them something so many times, but they're only going to do what you're doing. So I wanted to get off of Instagram so I can be like, hey, listen, it's not that it's so bad that you can't use it. It's so bad that even I am off of it, and I'm happy to say I was the first one to do that, and now their moms are like, well, thank you. Because I found my niece actually saying that, right? One time she asked if she can see something on Instagram, and I was like, I'm sorry, love, but I don't think that's appropriate for you. And she's like, well, mom has it, and she's always scrolling on it. So I had no way to kind of like, defend myself at that point. So I had to tell my friend, I was like, listen, I'm I'm doing what I can for your kid, but maybe you try it too. So yeah, anyways, let me know what you think about this video, and I will be back again later. Thank you very much for being here. Goodbye for now.